In this lesson, we are understanding Angular versions. Angular has different versions. But before that, I want to provide some clarity that there are two frameworks called AngularJS and Angular. Previously, before the introduction of Angular 2, many people have replaced the words like AngularJS and Angular. These words are used replacingly, interchangeably. But now the Angular, AngularJS are two different. We cannot use them interchangeably. AngularJS is different. Angular is different. Okay. Now, first I'm going to talk about the Angular versions, not AngularJS versions. Okay. The first version of Angular version is the first version of Angular framework is Angular 2. Earlier, the old framework was AngularJS. AngularJS first version was released in 2010. In 2010, okay, AngularJS 1.0 was released, and it has been a lot of development have been done, and still AngularJS exists. But of course, no more much updates on AngularJS from the past few years. So still it is exist officially. It's being maintained. Maybe up to 6 months more or up to 1 year more, the AngularJS will be still stable. And after that, slowly within 2 or 3 years, the AngularJS support will be stopped. That means there will be no more updates on AngularJS, no more bug fixes, if any also. The official support will be stopped after few years, maybe after 2 or 3 years. As of now, it is still supported version. There is a possibility of using it. But of course, on the other hand, on the development centers, if it is a new project, any range of project, maybe small or medium or large scale project, if it is a new project, everybody wants to use Angular instead of AngularJS because AngularJS was outdated, but an Angular is much more matured, much more advanced than AngularJS. That's why Angular is better than AngularJS. And the latest version of AngularJS as of now is 1.7.2. Okay, this is the latest version. This is released in 2018. What you can say, 2018 June, just the current year month itself. Okay. And this one released in November 2010. So this was the old story. So we're not much focusing about AngularJS right now. We are going to talk about Angular versions. The framework that we are going to learn is Angular, okay, not AngularJS. So Angular first version is Angular 2.0, which was released in September 2016. Exactly date also will provide September 14th, 2016. September 14th, 2016. In this particular date exactly, Angular 2 has been released. And the Angular framework has no 1.0. Angular 1.0 never exists. Angular is a separate framework. AngularJS is a separate framework. Two frameworks there. It's not like AngularJS is the first version, Angular is second version. It's not like that. Two different frameworks there. So the predefined library, the architectures, the execution model, the compilation model, everything totally top to bottom entirely from the scratch. It is different. Maybe name may be same. Just except the JS, this name may be same, but it's entirely different frameworks there. Okay, right. So what I'm trying to say, so this is an old version, and so Angular framework first version itself is 2.0. There is no Angular 1.0. Okay, so the first version is released in September 2016, and Angular 3.0 skipped. 3.0 not released at all. The reason why it is skipped, everybody is asking for why Angular 3 is skipped. Okay, now listen. It was skipped due to misalignment of router package 3.3.0. So what is the meaning of this particular sentence? I will try to explain. Now listen. So in Angular, we have different packages. For example, we have package called earlier, before release of 3.0. So earlier, before the concept of 3.0, the previous situation was we have different packages at the rate Angular/core package. This version number is 2.7 or something is there. Okay, suppose 2.7. Angular common 2.7. These are the what you can say sub packages or child packages of the framework. The framework is containing lots of packages. What is the meaning of package, and the details I will provide later. Just I'm trying to stick to the point of versions. So details I will provide. What this core will do, what this common will do. The details I will provide later. Okay, don't confuse. So there is one package called core package, which is a part of Angular framework. It has 2.7 version and so on. We have lots of other packages like platform, browser, forms and everything. But just like that, okay, one of the packages is @Angular/router package. There is a package called router package. This router package version number is 3.3. This is a problem. Exactly 3.3.0. So already before release of Angular 3.0 itself, the router package only one package, router package only has 3.3.0 version. So if Angular 3.0 wants to be released, what should be the version of Angular/router package? Suppose Angular 3.0 I want to remove. I don't want to skip the number. Okay. That means Angular/core, common, all these will be 3.0. So Angular/core will be 3.0. No problem, because the previous version was 2.7. So now we can upgrade to 3.0. And Angular/common package old version was 2.7. Now we can upgrade to 3.0. 3.0.0 also we can write. Okay. We can give the version numbers like this. But what about Angular/router? 3.3.0 already released. That means what? 3.2, 3.1, 3.0, 2.9, everything was released already. It has been advanced, it became evolved, it became advanced and already reached to the number of 3.3.0. And now, right now, I wanted to release 3.0.0. But 3.0.0 already released few months back itself. So there is some misalignment of the packages. That is the reason, to avoid the confusion, Angular version number 3 has been skipped. Okay, due to misalignment of the router package, Angular 3.0 skipped. This is the only package that is having 3.3.0 version earlier. That is the only reason why Angular 3 was skipped, no other reasons. Clear? So now when it comes to Angular 4.0, this was released in March 23rd, 2017. And Angular 5.0 was released in November 1st, 2017. And now the latest version is Angular 6. Latest version as of now is Angular 6. Angular 6 latest version was released in May 4th, 2018. So just 1 month back, approximately 1 month or 40 days like that, the Angular 6 version was released. So, and in our course, we are trying to learn the latest version, that is Angular 6. At the same time, it doesn't mean that if you learn Angular 6, we cannot work on Angular 5, 4, or 2, or whatever. So, in fact, there are no much big differences between Angular 6 and Angular 5, Angular 5 versus Angular 4, Angular 4 versus 2.0. So, there are no breaking changes. It's almost equal. In fact, to be frank, whenever the person already learned Angular 2.0 long back, he can directly, easily can work with Angular 6. Very, very minor changes are there. Very, very small minor changes in the folder structure and very small changes in the compilation model internally. Very small changes in the little bit of commands and little bit of enhancements and bug fixes may be there. Maybe a 5% or 10% may be difference. If you go very, very deeply, you will find some little bit changes. So there are not that much breaking changes between the Angular 2.0 to 6.0. Okay, what mainly evolved is internal compilation model is evolved. Internal compilation and execution model have been enhanced a lot. So when you compare to Angular 2.0 to Angular 6.0 at a glance, so mainly performance improvements you can expect. So the performance have been improved a lot. Of course, maturity levels, bug fixes, everything improved. Error messages have been improved. So what is mainly the difference? Performance. Of course, some small features like HTTP interceptors, RxJS related improvements, or Ajax related improvements, and data binding or change detection process improvements, compilation model improvements. So this type of things are there internally. So from the developer perspective, code, mostly no changes. 90 to 95% of code, of developer code, is the same in between Angular 2.0 to 6.0. So anyway, we are going to use Angular 6.0 from our side. Okay. So this is all about the Angular versions for us. Right. Now, I want to provide the main differences between AngularJS versus Angular. But stick to one point such that Angular is a new framework, AngularJS is the old frameworks. Two different frameworks they are. Got it? Two different frameworks. AngularJS was still in the market, but of course, presently less number of people are using, only in the maintenance projects. That means already the projects was developed long back. Okay, before the release of Angular, maybe before 2016, they have developed the project already in AngularJS. Presently it is under maintenance. That means only issues or bug fixes will be done. Only for them, AngularJS was demanded right now also, but the percentage is very less. So for the future, Angular is the best. So anyway, we are not going to touch AngularJS. And one more clarity, remember, without knowing AngularJS, we can directly understand Angular. AngularJS is not prerequisite for Angular. Actually, to be frank, if you want to say more, if you don't know AngularJS already, that is the best thing actually for Angular. Angular they can understand very comfortably, very easily. Okay, if you don't know AngularJS, if you know AngularJS, what happens is that AngularJS will be keep on coming for every topic. For example, I would like to say there is a topic called directives. Directives topic exists in AngularJS and Angular also, but they are entirely different. Purpose, the coding style, or you can say the nature, everything is entirely different. So if you already know AngularJS directives, what happen? If I'm trying to explain directives topics in Angular, you will try to keep on comparing with that. So it's not comparable, it's entirely different. Not only that, services. AngularJS services different, Angular services different. AngularJS Ajax was different, Angular Ajax is different. So it has, maybe the topic names are same, but the matter, the coding is entirely different. The purpose, the execution model, the language, everything different. So if you don't know AngularJS, you are the best person to understand Angular. Okay, if you don't know AngularJS also, you can do one thing, right click on AngularJS, delete. in your mind. Got it now? So go to your AngularJS storage location on your mind, right click on AngularJS, shift delete command, shift delete. Permanently delete, okay? Delete the AngularJS. Because if you don't know AngularJS, you can easily understand Angular perfectly. Clear. Anyway, so just for formality or just for interview, just for facing an interview, I want to provide some differences between AngularJS versus Angular. Because in interview they will ask, okay, what is the difference between AngularJS and Angular? What are the improvements in Angular? So this type of questions they will ask definitely. So for that reason only, for 5 to 10 minutes, I am going to discuss about this AngularJS versus Angular, not much more than that. After that, you can leave this topic of AngularJS anymore. Okay, so first difference is AngularJS is based on JavaScript. So AngularJS, the name itself is saying that it is based on JavaScript. It is based on JavaScript language. So I will give one clarity also. So for example, if you just go through AngularJS, if you can just open the official website. The official website of AngularJS is angularjs.org, which is developed by Google itself. And there is something called some small program they have explained, right? So suppose here, once you type something in the text box, the same whatever you type here, that is being displayed here below. Okay, this is a very, very small program that we have. So if you can notice, increase the size. Okay, fine. So this is a very short program they are explaining. Okay, so this is purely the JavaScript. So we are importing a JavaScript file, and if you see much more code also, see this, it has some code here. No, 1 minute. Here project.cs available. If you go to project.cs, JS, not CS. So now we can see some code here. Like we have created some value, we have created some service. So this is all pure JavaScript code, what you can see here. Okay, this is the pure JavaScript code. It's not other language. So AngularJS fundamentally from the top to bottom is developed based on JavaScript. There are two things here, developer code and library code. Library code means the predefined code which is developed by the Google. The developer code means which developer writes himself. You are the developer, you are writing some code yourself. That code is to be called as the developer code. So both developer code and library code also developed based on JavaScript language in case of AngularJS. But when it comes to Angular, is based on another language called TypeScript. So here generally a question raises, big question, important question, what is the difference between JavaScript and TypeScript? Okay, that clarity I will provide after maybe 2 days, because first we have to understand JavaScript objects topic with the programs. I need to show some programs on JavaScript objects topic. One day I will discuss about JavaScript objects. Then you can understand the TypeScript clearly. So I will provide the technical comparison between them. So don't confuse at this moment. But in general, what you can say, TypeScript is a superset of JavaScript, matured and advanced than TypeScript. Matured and advanced than JavaScript. Okay, clarity I will provide later, don't worry. The next another difference is AngularJS has some performance drawbacks. So what is the meaning of performance drawbacks here? Why the performance is down in AngularJS? See, basic applications work very well. Even medium range of applications also work very well in case of AngularJS. Means how much content your page has. Suppose your page is much like this, lots of code is there, lots of content is there, lots of data bindings are required, means a lot of text boxes, check boxes, radio button, lots of fields are there. So if the page is huge, definitely will notice the performance downgrade in case of AngularJS. That's the reason is because of the updates strategy of AngularJS. Means in brief, what you can say, it has something called digest loop. Digest loop means it will compare the changes between the model and the view. What's updated in view, what's updated in model. If any updates are there, again it will call the watchers internally to update the data, and it will be repeated up to 10 times, because one watcher may update the another property or another field. So to ensure the up-to-date data, it will repeat the process up to 10 times. The digest loop will be repeated up to 10 times. The digest loop of Angular will be repeated up to 10 times. Means it will compare what is available in the model object, what is available in the view. If any changes are there, opposite one will automatically update. Suppose if the model has been changed, the view will change. If the view has been changed, the model will change. It will automatically update. So checking and updating this process repeats up to 10 times. So that's why what you can say, digest loop in AngularJS will be repeated up to 10 times. So this is the main reason why you will notice some performance downgrade in case of large scale applications, above medium applications too. If your page is extremely small and lightweight, you don't notice that much big drawback. So this is what the main problem. So when it comes to some real-time applications, what you can say, some enterprise level of applications, so lots of fields will be there, lots of data bindings will be there. So this digest loop make issues. But without that digest loop, we cannot ensure the up-to-date data. Some data may not be updated if you don't perform this process up to 10 times. So that is the reason AngularJS has some performance drawbacks. They cannot change it for some reasons. So instead of disturbing the existing framework, let it go ahead as it is, and let's start a new framework. That is the reason why this Angular 2 has been started. Okay, instead of disturbing existing building, let's start the construction of new building beside it. That's what the basic thought of the evolution of Angular. So anyway, Angular has no performance drawbacks. Okay, so it is able to handle any range of application, maybe very small scale application, medium scale application, up to large scale application. Anything is very, very smoothly can be handled by Angular framework, but not by AngularJS. So it is developed from the scratch level by keeping in mind to mainly improve the performance. Even Angular 2 is very fast than AngularJS, but Angular 6 is much more faster than Angular 2. So Angular 6 and even Angular 5, 4 also very, very lightweight than Angular 2. So from Angular 2 to 6 also a lot of improvements you can notice in the performance mainly. They're mainly concentrated on the performance. So definitely can expect best from the Google. Okay, another difference is AngularJS has many topics like suppose we have a scope topic, services, directives, factories, filters, etc. topics. So many topics are there. In Angular has many other topics. So this scope is not available. There is no scope in Angular. Okay, services concept is there, but AngularJS service is different. Angular service is different. Okay, and directives topic is there, but AngularJS directives different. Angular directives different. Okay, and AngularJS has factories. Factories topic not exist in Angular. AngularJS has a filters topic. The topic has been renamed as a pipes, and it has a coding. It has its own style of coding. It's a new type of coding. The filter pipe basically may be same, but pipe has been evolved. Pipe became advanced than filter. So lots of differences. So even though some names are matching, for example, services versus services, directives versus directives, some names may be same, but they are entirely different from the scratch. We cannot even compare. And another important difference is AngularJS is mainly based on MVC architecture. This is very important. Model view controller. But Angular is not based on MVC. Is not based on MVC, but it is based on components. So one of the most important word in Angular, everywhere in Angular if you go, you can hear the word about components from the day one to day last. Okay, we will completely talk about Angular components every day. We keep a lot of code inside the components from the day one to day last. Okay, so but when it comes to AngularJS, on the other hand, mostly we'll talk about model view controller every day. So this is the real life of the AngularJS developer, that is MVC. Angular developer real life is components. So AngularJS is based on what? Model view controller. Just try to recollect about MVC. In fact, for Angular framework, okay, MVC architecture is no longer is a required. What you can say? No, the knowledge also not required actually. If you don't know MVC also, you can easily understand Angular. But just for a basic idea, we'll give the brief description about that. So what is model here? Model, it is an object that stores data. So what data you want to display to user, the data will be stored inside an object that is called model. For example, when the user has logged in, I want to display the user details. For example, username, email address, photo, some details I want to display about him. So we have to store some data inside an object. That object itself is model. Next, we have to write some design logic, right? HTML code. So it is a set of HTML statements or HTML tags that displays data. But what data? From where the data is coming? From model. Model supplies data to view, so view can display the output. View has a design logic. View know how to print it. So model is not containing any presentation logic, but model only the storage. So view reads the data from model and render the same in the output. So, but where the which field has to be displayed, that's all the decision taken by the view itself. Okay. For example, here in this paragraph, this field should be appear. In this heading, this other field should be appear. In this text box, this other field should be appear. So where we have to display which data, that's already known by view. Finally, the controller is a function that manipulates. It is a function that manipulates data. You have your application logic. Application logic means manipulation of data. So manipulation of data or application logic means we have your own logic to check the conditions, to loop through the data and do some calculations to make a decision whether what data should be displayed or what data should not be displayed, when to show the data, when to hide the data. So all this overall controlling can be done by the controller. So your actual program or actual coding part is in the controller, because model is only about storage. View is only about displaying. Controller is about the function that manipulates the logic. So control is a main place in MVC where you can write your actual programming logic, not even in the model, not even in the view. So anyway, the coordination will be happen between MVC, like controller can call model, controller can call view, view can call model. Anyway, that much detail is not required for Angular perspective, because our target is Angular, and for Angular we no longer use MVC. So please forget whatever I said about MVC. Really not required. For Angular, MVC is not required. Just for clarity purpose, I may tell, but if you forget also not a problem. But which you have to remember is about components. I will explain about the components very, very deeply later in the further lessons. First, we have to complete the basic fundamental part because first JavaScript objects required, then a little bit of TypeScript knowledge we have to understand, then we can understand the components very clearly. But as of now, just a basic initial impression is that any meaningful part of the section of the page represented as a component. For example, there is some Stack Overflow website. So here a number of regions, or you can say some sections of the page is available. For example, we can see something like header. So this is a header section. This is banner section. This is navigation, left side navigation bar section. This is questions section. This is some ads section. So every meaningful part of the page represented as one separate component. So we can create 5 components as per this page. Like we can say header section, banner section, or what you can say components. Header component, banner. Banner means the blue color box, big blue color box, what you can see here. So banner component, left bar component, questions component, and ads component. Like this, every meaningful section is represented as a separate component, and all the coding related to that particular section of the page will be present in the corresponding component. It includes data and programming logic. Now, what you can say, if you are coming from MVC background, so I can provide some clarity, like model plus controller is equal to component. So because the component itself can store the data much like a model, component can contain the programming logic also, application logic also much like a controller. So storage, data plus application logic is equal to the components. Okay, I will provide the clarity about this one later. Okay, that's all. So these are the main differences between AngularJS versus Angular. Okay, now we are going to start JavaScript objects. Some of the basics of JavaScript objects knowledge is required. Okay, we are trying to provide the clarity about JavaScript basics. So once we complete this JavaScript basic, not JavaScript basics, JavaScript object basics exactly. Only the topic of objects I want to explain, not the complete JavaScript. Okay, if you want to listen the complete JavaScript lessons, you can join my other batches which are available for JavaScript. Anyway, so I stick to the only one topic called JavaScript objects, which is particularly required for understanding the TypeScript. Okay, anyway. So what is this JavaScript object? What is object? Anybody tell me? Anyone in chat panel, please? What is object? Okay, Narendra said an entity. Jagadishwar Reddy said real world entity. Okay. Anybody else? Anybody please tell me what is object? In general, I'm asking. Hello, everyone respond. So yeah, all of you correct. See, somebody said object is real world item or real world entity, and somebody else said object is something that has some properties and features, and somebody else said what we can see really, that is nothing but object, and somebody said object is instance. So all of you correct only. All of you correct. In different perspective, all the definitions are correct. So yes, object is a real world item or real world entity, or also any word you can use, real world item or entity. So what you can see physically, what you can see really. Physically something exists that is object. Show me one example. What you can see in front of you, check it. So you have yourself, right? You are an object. You are the best example of object in the world. Okay. So you physically exist, and your laptop, your mobile, your TV, your fan, your room, your AC, your uh, bike or car, your city, okay, your country, your earth, okay. So something that exists physically, it may be large or small, that doesn't matter at all. So something that physically exists, that is what object. And additionally, object has its own details and functionality. These details are also called as properties in the JavaScript perspective, I'm saying. Okay, in JavaScript perspective, we call it as properties. In other languages, we may use other terminology like data members in C++, or you can say instance variables in Java. So we may use a different terminology. So I'm talking about JavaScript objects. So as per JavaScript language, we have to call them as properties. Properties are nothing but details about the particular specific object. And a functionality is also called as methods, or functions also we can say. Functions and methods both are we can use interchangeably in JavaScript language. So properties means what? Methods means what? Properties means the each details about the particular object. Details about particular object. Methods means the operations of the object. What that object can do. What we can do with the help of object. What are the activities that it can perform? That is what object. For example, we have something called a car. Okay, there is a car physically. So, and I'm asking the details. Suppose my friend has purchased a new car. I'm asking him. Okay, okay, you purchased a car, right? Tell me some details about it. I'm asking, what is the car model? Okay, he said something. For example, he said Honda City is a car model. So here, car model is a property. Honda City is a value. Property versus value. It's like it's also called as key value pair sometimes. So property versus value. Property is car model, value is Honda City. But it can be anything else, right? Somebody else may purchase some other value, right? So I am talking about the particular car. I am not asking all the cars. A specific example of the car is my friend is there. My friend has really purchased one car and he's having only one car himself. So that specific car details only I'm pointing. Okay. Next, car color. Suppose white color. Suppose car number TS1234. So like this, I can keep on saying n number of details. Any details that I talk about the specific car is called as the properties of the particular car object. And also the car is having some details or operations. For example, he can start his car. He can change the gear. He can stop the car. So these are all the activities or operations that he can perform based on the car object. So details are properties. Operations are methods or functions. So object is an encapsulation of both. But here there is no classes. No classes in JavaScript. As per JavaScript 5, no classes. Of course, in JavaScript 6, classes have been introduced. JavaScript 5 means a 2009 version. JavaScript 6 means 2015 version. So in the 2015 version, no classes have been introduced. But the problem is, in JavaScript 6, which is also called as ECMAScript 6. ECMAScript, JavaScript both are same. Remember this. Actually, ECMAScript is a specification. JavaScript is implementation of that. Anyway, both features are same. So ECMAScript, what is specified here in the ECMAScript, same will be implemented by the browser companies as a JavaScript language. So concept wise, both are same concepts. So we can say mostly same. So this ECMAScript 6 or JavaScript 6 has a concept called classes. Okay, but the problem is, as of now, all the browsers are not supporting ECMAScript 6. Okay, all the browsers are not supporting ECMAScript 6. So the stable version as of now, all the 100% of browsers are supporting JavaScript 5 as of now. Maybe after long period of time, maybe in future, ECMAScript 6 100% may be supported by all the browsers, but presently not. Of course, some of the features of ECMAScript 6 already working in Google Chrome and Mozilla Firefox kind of the top browsers, but some browsers may not be up to date. Some programming concepts also may not be supported 100%, so it's unstable. So we cannot use this JavaScript 6 or ECMAScript 6 in the real life development because it's having a lot of incompatibilities. Anyway, so we remove this topic from this, so leave it. So we stick to the point of JavaScript 5. I am trying to explain the objects topic as per JavaScript 5 topic, not ECMAScript 6. Okay. So as per JavaScript 5, only objects exist, no classes. Objects can be created independently in JavaScript 5. Objects can be created independently, means without classes exactly, in JavaScript 5. That's why JavaScript was called as prototype-based object-oriented programming. It's not class-based object-oriented programming. Class-based object-oriented programming means first we have to create a class, then based on the class only we have to create object. For example, Java language, in Java, first we must create a class. Based on the class only object can exist, otherwise not. But here, JavaScript 5 is a prototype-based, means objects can be created independently without class. There is no any concept of classes in prototype-based. Every object is independent, and moreover, if it is class-based, every object must follow same model, whatever the members defined in the class. For example, there is a variable declared in the class. That variable must and should exist in every object. For example, what if an object don't want that variable? For example, the first object of some student class has a student roll number variable. The second object of student class don't want to have the student roll number. It's not possible. We must and should have same set of variables in all the objects of the same class. But in prototype based, that is objects topic in JavaScript, it's possible. Every object is independent, no relation each other. Okay, it has its own disadvantages. Anyway, that's takes a lot of time to cover. So anyway, I stick to the basics of objects. So how to create object? So there are two ways: object literals and constructor function. Two ways to create objects in JavaScript 5 I'm talking about. In JavaScript 5, object literals and constructor functions, two ways are available. So first I will show an example of object literal. Object literal means just braces. That's it. Successfully we have created one object, and inside this object you can have the properties and methods. To create the properties, you can write like property colon value. You can repeat n number of times, n number of properties with values separated with comma. Property value separated with comma, and in between the property and value, colon is required. And after completion of all the properties, methods required. Method is nothing but function. Some code you can place in this. Some code. And also we can have n number of methods. So properties can be unlimited, methods can be unlimited. So all these properties and methods will be grouped up into a single unit called object. So for example, I want to store the student details. So let us see how to prepare the student details. So I'm going to use the Visual Studio Code as a code editor. So first we'll show how to install the Visual Studio Code as a code editor. I'm using same code editor for JavaScript, TypeScript and for Angular. So Visual Studio Code is a lightweight, free, open source, cross-platform, matured, very stable code editor which is recently released. So many people like to use it. At the same time, you have a choice of using any other. The old one like Notepad, Notepad++, Edit+, these are like outdated. So we don't suggest them as of now. Better we go for either Visual Studio Code, or you can say Sublime Text, Atom, WebStorm. Like this, we prefer any of this. Anyway, I prefer this one, Visual Studio Code. I'm using the same for Angular also. So I click on download for Windows, and have you remembered the website name? Forgot to tell. code.visualstudio.com is the website, of course. So I'm getting a file like this, VS Code setup, some version number 1.24.1 something. So we just click on this. And click on next button. Select the ready button. I accept the agreement. Click on next, 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 next. Everything same. Just no need of changing the options. Click on next. Install. Okay, it will take a little bit of time to install, maybe 1 or 2 minutes. Meanwhile, let us write the program here. Let it execute in background. Okay, fine. So I want to store the student details. Somebody asking student ID, for example, 101 is the student ID. Okay, student name, Scott is a student name. Marks is 80. And I want to get some process. For example, I want to know whether the result is pass or fail. Result of the student. What I mean by these brackets, it's a function. It's a function and not a variable. So this function has some logic, some code to execute. It doesn't give you a value directly. It has to execute some process. That means a set of statements. At the end only, it can result some. It can return some value for you. So it doesn't give you the value directly. So 3 properties with one function I want to have. So how will you create that? Let's convert this data into this format. It's simple. Just we have to place the braces. This is absolutely one object. Okay. And inside that, what are the details you want us to store? Student ID number. Student ID is the property, 101 is the value, comma. Student name, Scott is a value. Marks is a property, 80 is a value. And also result is a function, right? So result function should be written as like this. It's a function. Sorry. Yeah. Like this. It's a function. So in this function, we can write any code whatever you wish. For example, I'm going to return the value pass, but we have to check whether the student is really pass or not. For example, the pass marks is 35. We have to check that, right? So to keep the condition, what you can say, see, you're inside a function right now. This particular part is nothing but a function. So that is the reason we can write any code. For example, if this means current working object, this present object which you're making right now, this current working object represented as this keyword. So this dot, which value you are going to check result. So not result, marks. Marks is greater than or equal to 35. If the marks is greater than or equal to 35, then only we have to return pass, otherwise we have to return fail. Okay, like this. Return pass, otherwise fail. Like this we can write any code in this. So absolutely this is a one object, and in this object we have property student ID 101 is a value, student name is a property, Scott is a value, marks is a property, 80 is a value, result is a method, and this is the function for that. Okay, method is nothing but function with a proper name. Function inside the object is method. Okay. Now anyway, it's completed the installation in background. So once we finish, now we have to open the Visual Studio Code to practice. So what we'll do is that, so go to Start menu, go to Visual Studio Code here, and click on Visual Studio Code window. Once we click on this, So it will be just open here and okay, just it is saying like this. Just we have to go to file menu, new file. Once we click on new file, so save this, and I'm going to create a new folder. So suppose JS, I'm giving JS for JavaScript because I want to show the examples of JavaScript timing. So C::JS folder I created, and in this JS folder I'm going to give the file name, for example, object literals. Present topic object literals .html. .html I'm going to give. So HTML means it contains the typical syntax of HTML, like including HTML head, body, everything. I hope you already know the HTML syntax. If not, anybody just inform me. Okay, don't confuse. I am writing the topic name in the title always so that you can understand. Okay, so in the body tag, it is recommended to place the script. Script is always recommended to place at the bottom side of the body tag. After all the content of yours, at the most bottom side, it is best place to write the script. Okay, here we have to create one object. So the same object I'm going to repeat there, same thing here. That's it. We have successfully created one object and okay, fine. So I want to store this particular object inside some. I want to print it. Okay, I want to print this. I don't want to store. I want to print it. So console.log is output statement. In JavaScript, output statement is what? Console.log. So you will see this object inside your browser console. How to execute this program? Go to the folder where you saved it. That is the JS folder. Double click on the file objects literal.html. So double click on that file. You will directly see the same in the. Sorry, just a minute. Okay, so we can see this object literals.html. So we have not written anything in the body. For example, objects. I'm just keeping some heading like this. So this will be as it is displayed in the browser. So this is not important for us. Just go to inspect element. Right click on the web page, inspect element. Observe carefully. Right click, inspect element. How to open the console? Right click, inspect element. Keyboard shortcut F12. So go to console. In the console, now we can see objects. Yes, successfully we have created one object. It has three properties: student ID, student name, marks, and result function. Correct, 4. Okay. Now I want to print the actual values. So we can store this object reference in a variable. Some variable name, for example, student is equal to this object entirely. This object reference address has been stored in the variable called student. So it's called as a reference variable. Through that reference variable, we can access the members like this. You can see the screen, student ID, student name, etc. So we can access each of them independently. Student ID we can print, student name we can print, marks, result, everything you can print independently like this. Now if you can refresh in the program, now you can see objects are print. I mean student ID, name, marks, and result. Okay, now we can notice clearly this. Sorry. Now we can notice the program and output side by side. So that's all how we have created a first impression on the object literals. Okay. So and there is a other way called constructor function that also I will tell later.